What's up, guys? This is a quick tutorial on how to record the animated title card for the sermon. Just so you know, this is what I'm talking about, this little thing right here. It's After Effects. That basically has the art, the date, the title of the sermon, and then our logo at the end.
How's everyone?
Cool. So let's make that. So the first thing you need to do is get a image for that still card, so that still picture in the front. So I don't have B-roll from this service, so I'm just going to pull a still off of our wide shot, which, I mean, it's not the best solution, but if that's what you got, that's what you got. So I'm going to go ahead and export out this frame, and I'm going to save it in my title card folder. And then what I'm going to do is open up, there is a common After Effects file, and that's in the Creative Cloud files, so store admin CC files, Destiny common art, projects. And then it should be this guy right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this guy up. And so you'll see a bunch of different tabs down here. I'm just going to go through them really quick. This is your main render tab. This is where you change the title and subtitle. This is where you change the date. This is where you upload the photo. This is where you would put the art, the full screen art. This is where you put the background art. And then this is buttons. So depending on what type of video it is, so if it's a message, if it's a highlight, and these buttons here correspond to this button here. So if you're, say, editing or you need a title card for a highlight, then you would go into the buttons, change it to highlight. If you're editing, like, let's say a full service, which would mean with worship and everything, then you would update there, and then it would update there. Most of the time we're doing message, and so yeah, that's the button. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import in my photo. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into my project folder, which is an ingest, and then I've got a couple different images here, and I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop this right into After Effects. And then I want to bring it below my vignette and this black bar. And that gives it kind of the proper size. Now this ruler line right here is my headroom. So I want his headroom to be right about where that ruler is. And then I can always kind of scale this image a little bit if I want it to be bigger, make it look good, and then I can always check what my render is going to look like here. So that actually looks pretty good. Okay, so that's it for my photo. Series art. So every sermon has series art, and so in CC files current series, or if there's a special art that's just like if the sermon just has a one part series, then you would download that from Graceway and put it in your art folder. But basically I've got two different graphics. I've got a full screen and I've got a blank. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my full screen. I'm going to drop it into here. You can notice it's too big, so I'm going to go ahead and scale it correctly. So done with that. Same thing for the background, so I'm going to go grab that background image, drag it in, scale that correctly, and then that button is correct, so then all I got to do is update the date. So there's a thing that says change date here. So let's see here, what? So it's 7/13. And then here, so this is always the title of the message, and then if there's a series, then the series is down here. So we're doing spiritual discipleship, the disciple's maturity. So let's see how much we can fit that. Sweet. Okay. Let's check our render. So we can go into our render tab here and just kind of take a look at what this looks like. Looks good. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We've created our title card art. Now we need to export two different things. We export out a JPEG and a QuickTime. So I'm going to put my timeline right on this marker that says render JPEG here. And then you have to make sure that your quality is at full. And then I'm going to go save frame as file. And then I'm just going to go ahead and save this into my project folder. And we're just going to call this blah, 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 title card. Now you'll see right here that it says Photoshop, but you can ignore that because in the next step, you can just go into Photoshop. You can change this to be JPEG sequence, and it'll actually save it as a JPEG. I like quality 8. Okay, and render. And then that is a pretty fast render, and what you'll see is in your graphics. Did it not? Oh, go. There we go. Okay, there we go. So then this is your thumbnail for YouTube and Vimeo. Now we're going to render out the QuickTime file. So same thing. And then just as a note, to export out, to add it to the render queue, I think it's Command M. Okay, so and then next we have to save this. We don't want to use lossless. We want to use ProRes 422 LT, and we also want to make sure that it has audio, so audio output, perfect. And then what I like to do is once I've got all my settings right, see how it says custom QuickTime? I can go right here and I can say, let's make this a template. So I'm going to say ProRes 422 LT. And this is great. You can make JPEG presets. You can make ProRes 444 presets, whatever you need. So now whenever I need to change it to ProRes 422 LT with sound, I can just go here and, whoops, right there. Boom. So now I've got my settings. And then I can render this, and that's it. So that error is saying that there is a piece of content that's missing, but it's actually a layer that's turned off, so it's not a real big deal. And yeah, so this is rendering. It's going to take a couple minutes, but through the magic of editing, we'll speed it up. Okay, so the title card just finished rendering. Let's go ahead and see what we got here. All right, so the only thing that I would note is that on here, this spacing is a little bit off. I do want to just mention it so that you guys are aware of this. So in here, like the spacing between the 7 and the period is way off. So I'm going to Option arrow over to tighten this up a little bit. And this happens a lot with text where the spacing is way off. So to me, that looks way better. And you'll see an update there. That looks way better than the old way. This is now a little bit too tight. But that's a pretty nitpicky thing. But it's those little details that actually can really make it look a lot better. Yeah, that looks much more even. Love it. So, okay, I'm going to re-render this, but that's pretty much it. We're done. That is how you make a title card.